All right, so I want to take a look at doing a trade in Google, an earnings trade. So if we look here on Thinkorswim, let's see, this is, I'm pretty sure this reports, yeah, not, reports tonight, yeah, after the close. So Google's had a big gap up here. So again, to the upside, I'm thinking if they get really favorable news, maybe they can push to the 113, 115, and then to the downside, maybe the 90s. So 115 to 90s. If we come and we look at the analyze tab, I've got this set up so that you come down into the 90s, 115, but again, this tent will not remain the same in size. This tent will expand and shrink based on the changes in volatility. However, it looks like we can, do this trade probably in the $1.79 range, something like that. Again, I do my trades in Option Trader's Assistant, so I've got that set up here, ready to go. And again, the reason I do this is because I can get a very good graphical display of not only the trade as it exists right now after I enter this trade, but then as I go and make modifications or adjustments to the trade, it keeps those all in order and gives me a complete overall P&L diagram, including all of the prior legs that have closed. Where in TOS, if I roll a leg or something like that, TOS just shows me a new P&L diagram. That P&L diagram does not include any debit or credit that I might have received on any adjustment trades. So it's really important to have some sort of a program that will be able to keep all of that tracked for you. So we're not getting filled here right away. Let me just pause a minute and let me pull this down and go to our monitor tab. And well, I'm just going to pause a minute. We'll see where we're at. And we're trading right in that general range, so we should fill fairly quickly. But let me just sweeten the pot here a touch for the for the market maker. And let's see. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. Give them a penny. Let them have the deal. So, all right. So we're now in our Google one-day calendar trade as well. So we'll tend to follow along with that and see where that leads us. So we'll be taking a look closely at that tomorrow morning. And then, of course, we also now have an Amazon earnings trade open as well. So hopefully they'll go a little more than our meta does. I still have good, I do think we'll be able to manage our way through the meta trade and at least greatly reduce that potential loss, possibly even work that into a profit. It's just going to take a couple weeks to do so. But that's the key or part of the purpose of the deep dive class that I'll be doing on calendars is to teach everyone how to manage these trades if they don't go exactly the way you expected. There's certain things I've done in putting on this trade that if it doesn't go how I expect, it gives me some opportunities to deal with it, to basically work it into a position that should at least have a greatly reduced loss, if not possibly working it into a profit. But it has to be put on right to begin with in order to be able to allow those things to happen. So let's see where this one goes for us tomorrow. All right, well, let's take another crack at an earnings trade. Obviously, we got slapped a little silly on Meta, but that story isn't over yet. We'll wait and see how that plays out. We're going to have to work on it, going to have to do some adjustments, etc. But Amazon reports earnings tonight. So Amazon has already jumped quite a bit today based on various tech news. And it is kind of hard to tell right now. Things are starting to rip, but I would envision that if there was really, really good news on Amazon, it might pop into the 122 range here and then hit some resistance. To the downside, I'm thinking, 90, 88, somewhere in there. So 88 to 122, I think, is kind of a reasonable range. If we come and look at doing a calendar, we're looking at like 99 to 124. Again, you can't fully trust this tent in a calendar because the tent will shrink and grow. But this at least gives us a general measure of kind of how we want to look at and evaluate this. So if we look here, I'm looking at, doing something maybe around the 110 range. And I've got these two separately just so you can kind of see what's happening here. So we'd be selling the 110 put at $3.75, and then we're buying the further out March 110 put at $5.90. That difference, of course, is what we're having to pay for this trade. So if you do that math real quickly right there, that's $2. $2.20. And, we're looking at like a 213 debit. Well, that's to take into account the difference in the bid-ask spreads and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and while I've got it here to show you those two strikes, that's not how I actually want to put the trade out there. I'll actually put it out here this way. And but I tend to use Option Trader's Assistant for placing these orders and then managing them. So I'm going to pause here and I'll bring that in and we'll set up the order there. All right, so here we are with Option Trader's Assistant. I've got this trade set up here. So we're going to be selling the February 3rd. That's tomorrow that they expire. And then we're buying out in March 17th, 43 days out. And I think that's about it. We're going to do 5 of them. Let's put that order out. And we were showing around 213 as the mid. This is showing 215. I'll try to see if we can buy that for 213 just in case, but probably not. But let's see. And we should see our order hitting right there at 215. And let me roll this up here a little bit, or let's just come back and we'll change that order. There we go. So we're filled. All right, so that is our order. We got it out there for $2.15. Now, what I tend to do is I'll go lay an order out there right now to reduce that, and just in case tomorrow morning, maybe I'm doing something else, not paying attention, whatever, and we'll look to take that off at around a 50% profit. So at 215, we'd call that maybe, let's just call it 315. So we'll go ahead and order that selected adjustment. We need to do it as a GTC. We're going to do it at 3. We'll do it at 310. Place the order. Okay, so now that order is just kind of setting out there. We can see it right here, setting out there, waiting for tomorrow. And if Amazon opens up in a decent range, hopefully that will hit and we'll lock in a little bit of that profit. 2 of our 5 will close out. And that also then will kind of be our alarm bell to take a closer look and see what we want to do with the balance of it. So that is the earnings calendar for Amazon. All right, good morning, everyone. So we have 2 earnings calendars that we did last evening, one in Google and one in Amazon. So right now they're in the tents, but again, we have to recognize that the tent here on a calendar is not a stable tent. this tent will fold in on us as soon as we get the opening bell. So we need to kind of see what's going to happen here specifically. Now, I do have orders out there. I've got 5 Google Calendars open. I have an order out there to take 2 of them off at approximately 50% profit. I have, the same thing for Amazon if we take a look at that. So we're mildly within the tent. Again, we can't trust the structure of this tent right now, but I have an order out there to take 2 Amazons off on the open as well. And we will see what happens here in a few minutes as the market opens. So I'll just pause here. We've got about 5 minutes till the open, so actually a little more than that, but I'm just going to pause right here. I'll come back just before the open. You can also see we're having a pretty sizable sell-off day here today based on some financial news. This was somewhat, in my mind, something that I was kind of predicting because we had what's called a doji star in our charts last night, or for yesterday's event, or yesterday's trading day, if you will. We had a gap up, and then the market kind of pulled back to some lows of the day going into the close. And that often is the sign of a little bit of a blow off top. Now, that does not mean that we can't continue higher over the next few days from here, but it was a signal that there's likely to be a little bit of a topping pattern coming into play there. So we look into detail on that much more on our weekend reviews that we do in the alert services. But just as an FYI, this is not fully unexpected here, given what our markets had done and where we were over the past few days. So for now, I'll just pause, and then we'll come back to these on the open and kind of see where we're at. All right, we are open. Oh, wow. Okay, things are firing off. I'm pretty sure that we would have taken out 2 of our Googles here, so let's just go take a quick look. That was actually our SPX trade for the class that we had set up, so that got out at a decent profit here this morning. And Google were close to getting a fill on a couple of those. Amazon, we're kind of close to getting a fill on a couple of those. So let's just sit tight here a minute or two and see how these play out. So it looks like we might be a touch closer on Amazon than we are on Google. A little bit of a race here. So there's Google. So we're up, I don't know, $400 or so in that right now. Let's look at Amazon. And yeah, up 400-500 in Amazon right now. Let's go back, take a look here. Okay, Google's fading a touch. Amazon should be filling. It's bouncing all around our price right now. Oh, there we go. So Amazon just filled our 2. And let's do this. Let's pull over, because again, I tend to manage these, I think, as you guys know, using a program called Options Trader's Assistant. And so let me kind of bring that into view here. So this shows our position. It shows that we did take 2 contracts off already. So if I wanted to thin this, put an order out there to maybe thin this a little further, let's pull another 2 off. And let's take a look at where we're currently trading. So we're now at about 315. So I'm going to see about pulling a couple more off at 350. And it only needs to be a day order, of course, because the front options expire today. So that's we'll have to do something with those by the end of the day. So let's put that out there. And let's look at our Google trade. So this is our Google trade. We should be getting really close to one of those orders popping off as well. Okay, so we're currently at 269. I'm going to slide this out of the way and see here. So our Google, we're looking at 280 is what we are looking for out of it. You know, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to thin this down a little bit at the 250 just to get a couple of those locked in. We'll leave, well, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So we'll just go out there at that 261. Okay, so we filled those instantly. Now, if we look at our remaining orders, so we also have an order out there. Oh, let's see, when we put that order out there, it canceled the prior order. I did not select to not cancel the prior order, so it did in fact cancel that prior order. So let me go and we'll put another order out there to thin a couple more and see where we're trading right now. So we're at 262. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put, let's see, I'll go out at $3 on the next one. And that likely won't hit for a little bit, and we will need a little bit of a move back up in the underlying here in order for that to hit as well. So that's kind of where we're at on these. If we come back, we'll take a look at our Analyze tab on Google. So we're currently up $408 or 46%. We've taken 2 of our 5 off. Let's go take a look at our Amazon. Oh, let's see here. Wrong button. Let's see, there's our Amazon. And if we take a look at our Amazon, we're up $445, 41%, and we've got an order out there to take off 2 more. So we've had 5, we've stripped out 2 of them, we got an order to take out 2 more, and then we'll just sort of play that last one and try to milk it and see if we might be able to get a little more profit out of those here later today. So as frustrating as Meta was the other day when it jumped up whatever that was, 25% overnight and blew outside of our window, these two are equally as good at this point. So I'm just going to pause here now, and we'll come back and sort of take a look at our market as these fill. So yeah, those are the couple that we're kind of looking to get a fill on out there, and we will see how that goes. All right, so in the prior video, you saw me kind of managing this Google trade a little bit. This is a Google earnings trade. Now I just want to walk through the play-by-play. So this trade was open for less than 24 hours, and it generated a 63% return. We had $880 total risk in the trade, and we got $556 in profit after commissions, etc. So let's just kind of walk through this. So this was our proposed trade yesterday, and this was mid-morning or so yesterday that I had laid this out there. We got filled, so this was our entry details. Then we marched this forward, and then this morning Google did open within the range of our tent But again, it's important to understand, and we get into this in our deep dive class on butterflies, how and why this happens. It's important to understand that this tent for calendars is not a fixed tent like it is in most other trades, like a butterfly or a condor or something like that. And there's very specific reasons for that, so you can't fully trust your modeling software. And again, that's part of what the deep dive course on on calendars and diagonals will get into. But we had 5 open. We had an order out there to take 2 of them off. That hit. So we took those 2 off. Now we're in this position. We've essentially locked in, or we're at $435 in profit at that point, and we're down to 3. So I laid an order out there to filter out another 2 at a higher price yet. And then not too long after I put that order out there, probably about 15 minutes or so, that order hit. And so we closed that out. Our profit's a little higher at that point. And then I put our last one out there at a little higher order yet at 320. And then that ended up hitting shortly after that. So that's what kind of took us through this whole scenario. And nice trade, closed out for 63% profit in, gosh, it probably would have been about 6 or 7 trading hours. So it didn't take long to hit that profit target here on Google. So that's an overview of our Google Calendar earnings trade. All right, well, we've closed out our Google trade for a nice profit. We have thinned Amazon all the way down to just this single spread. So that said, Amazon just really isn't pushing any higher on us. We will get a little more decay where maybe we could, squeak a little more out of this thing later today. But at the end of the day, this is the last leg that I need to take out in order to get my my video published out to my students. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this thing out and be able to wrap up that content. So let's just take this to, let's see if I can get 385 maybe. And it looks like I should be able to. We'll see it pop up here instantly. And I'll just pause here a minute while we wait for that fill. The market is actually moving away from us on this, so I'm going to do a little bit of chasing here. I'm not a big fan of chasing, but let's just go ahead and... There we go. Well, I may have even gotten the fill at the better price before I hit the change there. So, yep. So I did get filled at the higher price, which is always good. So now let's just take a quick run through this trade. So we closed out 619 in profit. We had $1,000 in capital roughly tied up in this trade. We entered this trade yesterday afternoon. That's a 57% profit. So let's just kind of walk through this trade real quickly and take a look at it. Let's see, we can come down here. So we opened it yesterday. We had a couple adjustments which were thinning it out, but let's just see what this looked like graphically. Again, the thing I really like about Options Trader's Assistant is it monitors this for us step by step. So this was our initial proposed trade, and this was yesterday afternoon. We got our fill, so that was what this thing looked like when we got our fill. Then this morning, we were favorable where this thing opened. So we had a proposed trade out there to thin 2 of these out, which filled at 931. Then, and when I say 931, that's 931 Eastern time, just to be clear. So that's really like right on the open. Then we went ahead and we laid out an order to thin 2 more, and that hit at 950. And then we had this last one left, and we kind of milked that for a while, and we improved our situation. We got from the 597 up to whatever it was, 6 and change. But then we ended up going ahead and taking that trade out too, closing the position. So anyhow, that is a walkthrough on that trade. So two good earnings trades we were able to close out today, Amazon and Google.